G'day everyone. Barkarati is now brought to you by Disruptor Marine Marketing, using AI to help your marine business grow. And our friends at Radix Nutrition, the most technically comprehensive nutrition products ever to exist. Unlock your potential with Radix. G'day listeners, welcome to Barkarati the Sailing Podcast, second of our Sydney to Hobart 2025 yacht race skeds, the morning sked for day 2. My name's Jordan Spencer. Our good friend Mr. Nick Bice is at sea, so we've got two very experienced people to talk about the Hobart. Of course, my partner in crime, Mr. Brett Perry, BP, welcome.
Hello. Well, I'm obviously under half as experienced as our special guest, who's just coming to terms with the fact that he's not out there, I think.
Yeah.
How was your bed last night? Sam Hunt?
Let me formally say welcome, Mr. Sam Hunt. Okay, then answer the question.
Good morning. I very much enjoyed my sleep. It was not moving. It was not wet. And I had a great dinner as well and a breakfast.
Wow. Tell us how that actually felt. I mean, for the listeners out there who may have missed yesterday, 30 years of Sydney Hobarts, and you've had the first year of a meal and a bed.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I have missed one. I missed one in 2010. But, but yeah, certainly awesome to be at home. But at the same time, thinking of all my friends out there, and toughing it out. All of our friends.
You know it's not over. We'll be back.
Yeah, well, actually, if you do the math, 2010 is kind of halfway through 30 years, so that might have been a bit of a half-time break. And this may be, again, his habit is to just take a break every 15 years.
Every 15 years?
Yeah, we found his...
Next one.
It was kind of scary. I was standing in the bar of the CYC a few months ago, and I did notice there's another board, not only for 25, but for those who have done 40. Oh. And I thought, well, that's kind of crazy. Another 10, but
That's you know what?
15 years time,
Sammy, maybe a double hander, a new environment, a new sort of change, a double hander. That couldn't be a better way to go to Hobart, could there?
Well, yeah, perhaps.
By plane,
absolutely. You'd have less people telling you what to do.
Yeah.
Well, there is a new 35 coming.
Well, we should get into that. 35 is the magic distance in the double-hander world, I've discovered.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited. Anyway, we'll talk about more of that in the coming months. But should we just quickly run through the retirements, because there is a big one.
Literally one of the big ones.
Yes. I mean, obviously we don't dwell on this, but as you know, last night you mentioned Dinukshuk, trouble and strife, white noise, rigging issues, but the big one, our good mate Warro, Wild Thing 100, has pulled out due to rigging issues. Obviously we don't know the ins and outs, but very disappointed. I'd say he'd be.
It's runner. He kept snapping runner tails. He had a problem with a runner, and it wasn't working. So they tried jury rigging, and it's not working. So that one, but. I don't think we're surprised, as it was one of our predictions going in to the broadcast. So we knew, what is interesting is the jury, the extended chopped and cut boats have sort of struggled a bit. So, but yeah, that was the issue for Warro. He looked pretty tired.
Anyway,
there's a video.
Congratulations, obviously, to all that retired.
Yep.
But hey, all right, following your lead, mate. Let's go.
All right, so Trouble and Strife went out for engine trouble, which, of course, is a really hard thing to explain to non-sailors.
Yes. It's one of those ones where you go, why do they need an engine, and do you stop at night? That's the questions you get asked.
Yeah, that's the question you get. Where do you stay overnight? Oh, just at the hotel.
The other one was Owen with the forestay. So, a lot of rigging issues. Is the question I have to ask, boys, is it just a sign of how poor all the riggers are in Australia, or is it the loads that the boats are taking?
I'd argue that the riggers in Australia are pretty rich, but that's another thing. I think it's it just shows the level of preparation that's needed for this race. So and it's been pretty rough out there too. I'm surprised there's not more. There's actually not more retirements, to be honest.
Huge point, Sammy. Before we get into the results, it was rough overnight. I mean, there was the onboard footage from Law Connect, even though the big boats make it look relatively smooth, but for that to be, chopping it up like it was, it's you got to imagine this boat's 100 feet long and it was doing what it was doing. It was pretty good footage. But if you're on a 40-footer, it's hard work. There would have been some big lumps out there. There still is. Looking at my weather here, there's another 12 hours, of stuff to go through, especially for the smaller boats. But we'll talk about that in a sec.
I was going to say Law Connect is a good one because they blew up their main sheet. They dropped a jib halyard multiple times, and they've lost their instruments. So,
geez, you're on the boil, aren't you?
Yeah, that's quite a list for such a well-prepared vessel. Your friend Tony Mutter might have something to say about it at the end of the race. Yeah. He won't be happy.
Well, yeah.
I thought it was more. I thought it was more. The more impressive side of it was how Jordan knew.
It's Thorpe. Thorpe keeps tripping over the cables and kicking the halyard locks out. He just keeps.
He's got some arms and legs, that bloke. So they get in the way, those big feet.
Yeah,
maybe they've got him out the back kicking like a big long paddleboard.
That's why he's there.
Hey, maybe he'll come into play in the light stuff. Maybe that's what the little thing is. Well, Thorpe, you're up.
I think that sort of they're sort of claiming that's what slowed them down a fraction and saw the Comanche jump to the front.
They put him back up on the boat. You reckon?
But I'm just interested. Like when you look at. If you go through boats, and look at the evolution of boats, the structure, the way they build a boat now, they're pretty strong, and rigs are the sort of next weak point, and depending on what sort of rig, obviously if Bicey was here, we'd be saying, a non-Southern Spars rig, you're taking a risk in your hands, blah, blah, blah. But I think the rigging element, that's the weakest spot, it'll be foils or rigging, and the foils are so strong because they're sort of such, the way they build a foil is pretty intense. So the rigging often can be it's the weak point, depending on how much riding moment those boats are providing. Some of the masts can't handle those riding moments. So
yeah, I think you guys have chatted to a few of those boats that have done those mods over the years, and they start to push up against the limits of the rig.
Yeah.
And those rigs are expensive, so to replace, as Bicey wouldn't really acknowledge the price of them, but someone has to pay for it at the end of the day.
He loves it when a boat gets more riding moment.
Yeah, exactly.
But here comes another one.
Yeah, that's right. But anyway, nothing like bouncing into going on the nose and bouncing over waves to test a rig. That's pretty much
absolutely nothing like it. So anyway, it was a tough night. Shall we have a look at line honours?
Yep. Jump into it.
Absolutely.
Well, nothing unreally toward at the moment, and as you said yesterday, Sammy, pretty well in order of what we expected. Would you agree with that? Obviously, with Wild Thing out, but
yeah, I'm interested to see Comanche taking a bit of eking out more of a lead this morning. As they've got out into the rougher off Green Cape. As we speak, they're sort of eking out more of a lead. So I'm interested to see that.
At time of recording, we're talking 6 miles to Law Connect.
Yeah.
Another 7 miles further back to Scallywag. Lucky really hanging in there, isn't it? Lucky's the one we said at the start. We'll go through our IRC predictions in a minute, but Lucky was definitely high up in that area. Palm Beach, well, doing what it sort of probably was expected. Celestial having a real crack.
Yeah.
Moving down the list, URM, Moneypenny, low, no limit, and then it comes the 52s. So they're, as I said off air, ready to pounce.
Yeah, well, how rough would it have been on one of those 52s, Callisto or Smuggler last night?
Been there, having been there, done it. It's bloody insane. Yeah. Aragon in 12th, and what about in 13th? Sammy Hunt.
The Hunger Road Hollywood Boulevard, a boat chartered from Ray. It says Ray Roberts on the on the list, but it's chartered from as I understand it, the UK group, and it's a 55-foot phare design, the former Living Doll, hanging in there, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think they're just trying to get, nurse the boat safely through this stuff, and then it come into its own light when the lighter stuff.
We do know that boat very well, obviously. Don't want to go too much further down there, but obviously probably the big standout of that line honours position would be Margaret Rintoul 5. At the moment, she's been featuring in our skeds quite regularly for the last 2 days, but over the last day, but in the updated IRC. So all very exciting.
Yeah, they've got as they said yesterday, they've got a good bunch of people on that MR5 or Margaret Rintoul 5, and she's got a good pedigree of Freya's design as I look at it. So they're showing well, and they've got a low handicap as we talked about. So
for the overseas listeners or the people around Australia not quite following us closely, as we record, our lead boats are probably, they've just gone into Victorian waters is probably the best way to describe it. The hundreds and the 88-footer Lucky in Victorian waters. Celestial, the V70, is just about to pull the pale blue jersey off and put the Victorian colours on as they're right on the border. They're just directly off Malakuta Pub.
So they're going to put the dark blue in the white V.
I was trying to remember what it is. Yeah, that's right.
It's dark blue with a white V. So
I was singing "We Hate You" because you're Victorian in the back of my head. That was the thing we always had to sing when we came in from over the border. But so that's where they are.
He's a Victorian.
That's where they are. So they're in the Victorian waters and starting to move down. So in terms
starting to get into the Bass Strait, where the shallow waters and the rough seas meet, I guess, is that famous line.
If we're looking, so we're still obviously talking about line honours here. So if we're looking at where they are, they're all well inside the rum line and hugging that corner, because that is a horrible corner. We all know what happens there. We've all been there. So it's a really awful corner, and it is hard bang on the schnotter.
Absolutely.
Can we say it any other way?
No, it is. It continues to be upwind and should continue to be upwind for most of today.
Yeah. So from a weather perspective, you're exactly right. So that in fact, we're probably going into the freshest part of the day. So sort of wind is southwest, southwest, maybe moving a little south as they go further south. It wasn't at times super fresh, but that sort of 20 to 25 is definitely on the play. They're into the milder sort of current area at the moment. The next sort of eddy that they have to watch out is just off the Tasmanian, sort of North Tasmanian coast, but they're travelling, where they're all positioned, they're travelling in some fairly calm conditions. There's a little bit of north travelling current close to the coast.
The thing is, though, if you're seeing 20s in this area of southerly, you can bet your bottom dollar you're seeing a couple of 30, 35s.
Yeah.
So
I mean, once you're in Bass Strait, when you're at the bottom of a trough, it's only 5 knots. You got some quite big swell lines go through there. So
they're punching into it. I did notice that looking at the tracks and trying to look at where they've been, and Callisto and Smuggler and those guys probably trying to find favourable current, whereas the leading boats would probably trying to get out of hugging the coast a bit more, maybe to getting a bit less seaway, I guess.
Yeah.
We discussed this yesterday, and I think that would be the smarter way of going about it, because that corner is just for the international listeners and or people who haven't done this race before. What you end up is kind of a bit of a washing machine. You've got the East Coast current coming down, obviously, which sort of is variable, can move around, is very sort of unpredictable. But then you always have, no matter what is going on, you have some form of leftover westerly flow of swell through there. It can create some horrible, almost sort of vertical waves, especially if there's been some pressure or some southwesterlies going through there in the last 2, 3, 4 days. So it's pretty horrible until you get probably a good solid 50 miles out into Bass Strait, because it's still affected by the shelf, because Bass Strait itself goes from, on the other side, the western side, goes from, 3,000 to 5,000 metres deep. to 300 meters deep, and then drops back off again, way off the coast on the eastern side. So you hit that shelf, and it's awful. So
yeah, I don't know how you guys have been following it. I've had a look at a few Instagrams, a bit of tracking, a bit of video here and there, but it's interesting watching the Law Connect live feed.
Yeah,
and seeing their changes. You can scroll back a few hours, and they were in near the shore, and it looked pretty nice. You're like, oh, that's light breezes, and then now they're out in the middle, and it's like, yeah, it looks heinous. There's even water, white water coming, splashes of white water coming into the cockpit, which is shows that it's pretty large on a 100-footer. So
yes.
Yeah, what's the length of the race? 628 mile or something, and they've got 300 and the leader's got 365 to go, so they're not even halfway yet. So yeah, it's still going to be wet and cold, long way to go. So there's plenty of race ahead of us.
Yes, and then I guess maybe that leads on to how's it going to change. It looks a couple of there's going to be some lighter stuff in the future.
Yeah, that's a huge point. So if you're looking, I did do a little bit of a post this morning on Bar Karate Facebook, sort of talking about chocolates and hoops. We talked about it off air, and I mentioned it the other day in our previous episode that it is all about getting through the windows in good shape. But this is one of the sort of biggest parts of this race, isn't it, lads? When you look at it, there's a big hole coming. And it's how this happens in the next, and it sort of starts around about, later tonight into dawn tomorrow, which is going to be right where, everyone's going to be sort of in that Tasmania area, the bigger boats, and obviously the other boats are going to be entering Bass Strait. So it's going to be critical to see how that pans out.
And can a boat, like if you look at the standings, it's Palm Beach 11, the narrow boat. 26 miles behind as they stand. Can boats like that, can they make up a deficit such as that?
Light airs, they keep rolling through. Comanche stops. We know she's got a bit of surface area. Law Connect is not too bad.
Well, that's what I want to bring in there, boys, because currently the Comanche's in front, but we've got to go through that big hole, and we know the Law Connect goes a bit quicker in that lighter stuff than Comanche. Could they get just enough of a lead to get up the Derwent?
But then, we mentioned, sorry, Sam, we mentioned the other day that, you've got Scallywag and then obviously Palm Beach, the skinny boats. If there's a leftover slop and no wind, those big wooded surface area boats, they just can't build their apparent, and that boom just flops from side to side. They can't settle it. They can't get the thing going. That's the horrible noise.
It's the doldrums without the heat.
Yes, there'll be some big leftover swells on there on the Tassie coast.
That's my point. And then obviously the skinny boats can just sit themselves on the side a bit, hold that boom out, stabilise the mainsail, build that 1 to 2, 3 knots of air if they're in zeros. It's going to be really interesting to see how it pans out. I did say, sitting in the Palace the other day with one Peter Gardner, commonly referred to as Gardo, to keep an eye on Scallywag. So
for me, they're only 10, 11, 12 miles off the lead. So that's,
I said keep an eye on Scallywag. We sort of said Comanche over the line potentially, is going to be in the conditions that we have right now, but I'm still keeping an eye on Scallywag.
Yeah.
Good call. No. Well, that
has line on us.
Obviously, all that whole, we're talking about the front, the line on us stuff, but from the real important stuff is
let's go to it, because this is critical.
Yeah, and so that wind, what's happening with that wind does change everything. So shall we have a look at IRC currently, standings overall? Yep. No surprises from us. Our prediction of Celestial at the 4 is holding. It's quite a large gap. So Lucky's close behind on rating, but then it's a significant gap.
7 hours on IRC, Sammy. We know it can change quick, but that's a fair lead.
Obviously, I haven't been around on this, like looking at the handicap numbers, but you look at his handicap number on the standings, 1.605, and compared to Lucky of 1.890, it's a huge gap. So they've done a good job to get their rating down so much on Celestial V70, and URM, which is a 70, it's
72.
72, but obviously not going upwind as well as the Celestial V70, which is a truck going upwind. I would say.
Yeah.
They have
Which
a big
again
lead.
leads
That's
to the
for
point
sure.
we need to watch what happens. In the next 12 hours, 20 hours, it's going to be pretty cool to see what happens. So,
well, I do want to say those V70s they move pretty well. They
in the light too.
Yeah, that's right. They don't suffer.
And that's what we said. Over the last couple of weeks, even if there's that, because we were pointing this. Jay, I will compliment here you were pointing it out. Strong southerlies with a bit of summer down Tasmanian coast, and that's exactly what we're seeing.
Yes.
You bloody legend, you. Hey?
Yeah. No, I'm trying to think of a famous weather forecaster's name, but apart from that Mexican one, I haven't got any names that pop into mind.
The Mexican one on what's his name? Aussie mate.
I'll send you a link to the Mexican one, then you'll understand.
Yeah.
The navigators will be earning their money they'll be burning it. They'll be burning up that Starlink and chewing up the data. They'll be non-stop today.
It's where you hit this. What do you call it? Is it a ridge? It's not really. It's just more of a nothing, isn't it?
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, it's it's the eye of a high. It's exactly what
absolutely.
It is.
Good way to describe it. And it seems to me that the models of looking at Predict Wind on the free version, which I have, not being a navigator type, they seem to be looking the same. They seem to be looking
all the models coming together,
aligned, as they say.
The thing that I'd like to bring up here is obviously we've got Celestial leading, Lucky second, URM third, Comanche having a really good one, Lorcanet, all on IRC in the top, Scallywag as well. Then obviously Margaret Rintoul. The thing that's really interesting here, Money Penny Callisto, No Limit Smuggler. So that's the smaller boats. Bacchanal is coming in there as well. But the thing that's interesting is what happens with this, whatever we're going to call it, the eye of the high, and who gets through and how that happens, because ultimately behind that is the northerly, which we discussed, which could bring the smaller boats into play. Bacchanal was perfectly positioned for that, but how is it going to affect them? Because if you look at the weather, that eye of the high really sneaks up that right off in that Green Cape area, and really will be a headbutt for those boats, those smaller boats, until they get a northerly. So if Celestial, Lucky, and those guys can get through and get onto the land in Tasmania, maybe they can squeak down the coast and not stop.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. Yeah, it's I think the usual suspects will float to the top in this IRC standings. I think well prepared boats with a good sail wardrobe, ability to sail through anything. Yeah. And good navigators,
which is where you'd sort of and obviously designs and shapes and all that sort of come into play. But you'd expect that Margaret Rintoul would be one of those ones in danger here of dropping off, because they will be caught on that Green Cape Point before entering Bass Strait in nothing for potentially hours, if not a day.
Yes. Yeah.
And if those bigger boats can just sneak down, and if Celestial can hold on, well, it's almost a given as to how it's going to pan out.
Yeah,
with the current positions.
I'm surprised to see. Well, I haven't looked in detail what Bacchanal and the difference between them and sort of Back to Black are doing. But Bacchanal, is coming. It's going well on IRC. And those boats are sort of
Back to Black. Oh well, Back to Black. They're 35th, mate. They're
so they're
battling
they've fallen back a bit, whether they've had any issues or whether they've just gone the wrong way. Have to look at, maybe we'll get an update on that in more detail next time.
Just in front of the mighty Bacardi.
Exactly.
Our good mate Brett Averay in probably what is the world famous Bacardi boat, which has probably done nearly every Hobart since it started in 1940.
More than any other boat, I believe.
Yeah, I noticed
done 50 plus Hobarts, isn't it?
That's crazy.
Awesome.
Our lead double hander is BNC, which is Bank New Caledonia, I think is what that stands for. They're back in 17th, but in on corrected time currently.
Well, we need to keep an eye on them. I mean, Mistral with Rupert Henry has climbed back up the leaderboard, so they definitely had a little issue. But it shows you how good that boat is and how well it's rated. Because if they sailed really well overnight and got themselves back into it. So double-handed wise, we're watching that as well.
On the line on us, they're all right next to each other.
Yes.
If you look at that, Mistral and B&C are less than a mile apart. And then it's only, 1 and a bit miles to Avalanche, and then Mini is not too far away. They're all right next to each other. It's kind of like a small version, the double-handed version of what was happening with the front of the line on us fleet. Everyone's sort of bunched together. So
the interesting point I'd like to make, just going back to IRC overall, and it's probably worth chatting about, is you got Celestial with that 7-hour buffer. Then you got Lucky estimated corrected time of 4 days there, which is bloody long. But then you've got 1 hour between, the next few, and then and then it goes out to let's go out to say 15th position.
Yeah, it's a
17
whole
hours.
day.
17 days, 17 hours.
17 hours.
I mean, our next guy that we sort of said potentially has a good chance, depending on what happens in this little northerly, is Bacchanal, and they're 16 hours behind second place.
Yeah.
It's a long way to make up.
Yeah, massive. Yeah.
Well, not having watched this race too many times from the onshore, I'm not sure how to, compute all these standings and different IRC calculations. That used to be a thing on the boat I sailed on recently with Griffo, always checking these standings, and we were busy sailing.
Yeah. You were just, whatever, mate. We'll just get there.
Just thinking, whatever, let's just get there first. So, I don't know how much stock to put in those numbers, but yeah.
Well, I'll tell you that what we need to see a smoke and northerly come down for once the big boats are finished for any of these little boats to have a chance. So once Celestial's finished,
absolutely.
If they unless they get stuck in that eye, it sits there for the next day or two anyway. So everyone's going to get stuck.
The big problem is, as you call it, the eye of the high. That's gonna be a major disruptor.
They need some, and the marine marketing. The highs brought to you by Disruptor Marine Marketing.
Oh my god! Yeah,
nice segue.
Because you can leave. You don't need to worry about your business because the AI bot is taking care of everything, answering all your client calls. There we go.
All right, so we've got a big day ahead of us.
Yep.
Obviously, they're still out there battling into it. So we know we've still got another minimum, I guess, 12 hours of sort of heaviest conditions for the southern fleet. The boats on the Australian coast look like they're all sort of trying to get out of that a little bit. But the challenge is going to be the eye of the high. So we're going to be talking about that tonight and tomorrow for sure.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Anything else, boys, or should we call it? Go and see what's happening in the cricket, or go for a wingding?
I'm going to go to Avatar. Watch the Avatar.
Nice. I'll be watching the cricket and having lunch, and I'll come back at 6 p.m. or whenever the next update is.
That's it. That's when we're going to go. We'll publish around 6:30. But yeah, I mean, you could go to the official update, but why? When you've got this level of genius, they're providing all this output.
And it is a level of genius. You with the weather, and obviously the world's greatest amateur here, and I've done okay in the past, so we're looking good. But the things could change, though. We know this race very well.
Yeah, and we're glad it's on. We're glad you're listening into us. I hope you're enjoying it. Thanks, Sam. Thanks, BP. Thanks, listeners. We will be back in the interim. disruptormarinemarketing.com.au or our friends at Radix Nutrition. Jump on, you get a discount with Bar Karate. All right. That's it. Have a good day, everyone.
Well done. Cheers.